What is up, guys? I am back to do a live stream, do a Avengers Infinity War live discussion and review. This is kind of something I've wanted to do for a while, and I kind of found a reason to do it because I tried to do an Infinity War review. I actually legitimately, the first night that I saw it, I filmed a legit review. I just couldn't do it. My camera ran out of space. It was literally there is so much to this movie to take in. And it's just such a big film. It's such a grand scale type of movie. There's so much information, and I was gonna do a non-spoiler section, and I'm still gonna do that for this review. So I'll let you know when I'm gonna go into spoilers, which is here in a minute. Because my point I'm trying to make is the non-spoiler section, it's impossible to be vague for this movie. It's absolutely impossible to beat around the bush about stuff that happens in this movie, because all I can really say to the non-spoiler with the non-spoiler section, if you haven't seen this movie already, then you're missing out. I waited until second weekend on purpose to review this, to do this live stream, because I wanted to give people time to watch it so that I could go into spoilers. Right now it's sitting at it may have changed, but yesterday it was sitting at number 35, I think, 35, 36, around that area of highest grossing movies of all time. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. It was sitting at 35, around the 30s. It may be different now. I'll probably check on Wikipedia in a minute. It was sitting at 35, highest grossing movies of all time, and this is only second weekend. It's Sunday. This is the last day of second weekend, and it's already made that. My prediction, I think it has everything. I think it has what it takes. This movie, 10 years built up. 10 whole years since 2008. Iron Man 1 came out, and they've done a fantastic job. So, let me just say, applause to Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios, everyone that has ever directed one of these Marvel movies. I'm a legit fan. This is one of my favorite franchises now. Star Wars is up there, but Marvel is it's really hard to decide which one I like more. Marvel has more movies. It has more to go on. Star Wars is this old, this thing that started a long time ago, but Marvel is it's doing it right. They're doing it so right. They have so many movies. And I'm running out of breath. So it's a live stream, so I'm gonna be taking a lot of moments to just breathe. But it's just so good. I'm trying to get back on track to what I was saying. It's number is in the 30s, and it may be more now. It may be in the 20s now. I think it has everything. I think it has everything to beat Avatar. Avatar is still the highest grossing movie of all time. Right below it is Titanic. James Cameron has the top two highest grossing movies of all time, and Avatar has a reason. It's a good movie. I watched it kind of recently. Avatar is a good movie. And for that 3D and the fact that it was ahead of its time, it had it. It had what it took. But Marvel, though, Black Panther crossed 1 billion, so Infinity War has no reason to not. It's already, it had the largest box office opening of all time, ever. Any movie, ever. Largest opening. And, so like I said, I think it has everything. It has all the reason to beat Avatar. If Avatar is sitting at 2 billion, and that's a lot, Infinity War still has a little bit to get there. But it's only second weekend, and it'll probably be in theaters for a solid 2 months. With the money it's making, it will be there for a while. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. First, I've got some mental notes about this movie because it's a very hard movie to review. Like, it's so big, so grand scale, so much happens in this movie that it's hard. Like, I feel like a review isn't enough. Like, a review is not enough to talk about how great this movie is. It's just not. But I wanted to first talk about Marvel. Like I said, Marvel, 10 years you've been doing this. And you've done a fantastic job of making every film. This is one thing that I love about Marvel Studios. And I wanted to kind of just rant about my love for Marvel all in this review, all at once. Just kind of say everything I've wanted to say. Like, Marvel has done such a fantastic job at, like, every movie has, like, a post-credit scene. It has something at the end that ties into the next movie. But every post-credit scene, usually, there's some that really suck, and I'll go into that a little bit. But every post-credit scene ties into another movie. And it's done so well. It's done so well because every post-credit scene is like, it's there for a reason. It's not just, hey, there's another movie coming out. It actually is like relevant to the movie that you're watching right then. It always is. The post-credit scene, and I'll get into that probably near the end because that's literally the end of this movie is the post-credit scene for Infinity War, so I probably will talk about that at the end. I'm kind of going to be really random with what I talk about, but I'm going to try to go in order of the movie. Like, I'm not going to do a scene-by-scene review of this movie because that would take 3 days. But I really do want to talk about this movie. And I know you're just screaming. Whoever's joined, it's one person. But I know whoever it is just screaming, like, just do it, just talk about it. I'm tired of waiting. But like I said, this is live and uncut, so we could do whatever. I want you guys to be able to discuss anything that you want to go into. That's fine. Like, I want to full on discuss this movie with anybody that joins and anybody that wants to throw in stuff. So, yeah, Thanos pretty much immediately shows you at the beginning of the movie of how, like, the danger. Like, Jeremy Jahns made kind of a point of, like, whenever there's, like, a movie where a lot of characters get saved, like, at the end of a movie, and then in the next 5 minutes of the next movie they all get killed, he kind of hates that. And I see his point. Like, I kind of get that. Like, I hate it when characters just get killed. Like, that's how I felt about Ragnarok. With the Asgardians, some of the Asgardians just get killed, and they're like major characters in the other movies. But I kind of see what he means a little bit. It's sort of like, but I think that's what we needed. We needed something for Thanos to show that he means business. And the fact that this movie, okay. If you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War, I forgot to say this. If you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War, go now. Like, don't watch this. Even if you're someone watching this later, after the stream is over, just go see this movie. Like I said, the small little non-spoiler section I could talk about is that this movie is so great. Like, it's so well done. And so, just congrats to the Russo brothers because they're amazing directors. I absolutely love every movie they've done with Marvel. Whenever they did The Winter Soldier, whenever they did Civil War, and whenever they did this movie. Like, all of them are pretty much my favorite ones. And I still haven't decided if Infinity War is, like, my favorite or not. It's a really hard pick. But I'm sure after the Blu-ray comes out and I see it a few more times, I'm probably going to go one more time to an IMAX. I really want to go find an IMAX and watch this movie because that, like, even if it's IMAX 3D, like, that would be really cool. But I've only seen it in regular 2D, and it was cool too. But I think IMAX should be a totally different kind of experience. But yeah, Thanos is literally like the best villain so far, besides Loki. Loki was kind of his own thing, you know, mischievous brother, and just Thanos just topped that. On top of, like I said, if you haven't seen this movie, I'm going into full spoilers. This is not a joke, not a drill. I'm gonna go into full spoilers, but I think Loki's death is what we needed. I think him dying the way he did, it's a reference back to the first Avengers movie. The fact that he just Thanos kills him and then that's it. Like I don't think he's coming back, and I don't I don't think anything like that's gonna happen. I think that was it. And his line was so amazing. Like I've seen the movie twice, and his line was so freaking good. Like you will never be a god. Like I think Loki pretty much he summed up everything right there. Right then and there, he basically was just like, you will eventually be defeated, but we're gonna have to go through crap first. Like I think that's, you will never be a god. Like that really added weight to it. And right at the beginning of the movie, that feels like something that would have been like something someone would have said to Thanos like later on, but that was like right off the beginning. Really, a really emotional moment. And Thor's literally the last one. He's like basically the last Asgardian, and everything. But yeah, Thanos right off the bat showed us what, that he's not to be messed with. And, getting getting the Tesseract, that's the stone. Like, here's the thing. With his minions, because you got Proxima Midnight, you got, I forgot all of their names, but they're all freaking cool. Like, his henchmen, as you could call them, that's, what you call them in, like, basically from, like, a cartoon or something, or when you're a kid. But I'll just call them Thanos' henchmen. They are, like, so great, and those are some really good actors, like, really good. Proxima Midnight, and that other guy. Like they were like my favorite ones. The guy with the horns. The freaking like the fact that it just starts with like the other guy. I can't remember. I'm gonna have to Google all this so I can know what I'm talking about while I'm doing the review. Like what he says, basically, like just be grateful or something like that you were being killed by the mighty Thanos. Like it's some kind of privilege. He says that like twice in the movie, and it just adds so much weight to all of it. Like it's just so good. But anyway, what I was trying to say is his henchmen are like really, really great. My only complaint about them, like, and I realized this after the second time. My complaint about them is they die. I mean, it's okay that they die. Like, it was kind of cool to see they get killed in this movie. Like, they actually get killed. I didn't expect that. I was thinking, like, they'll probably last till part 2. But now it's only Thanos. It's only Thanos that is, like, left of them. And I actually expected him to have a bigger army than he did. But Proxima Midnight she was the one with the Outriders. She has the army. But they get killed, and I'm kind of like, these, all I could think about, and I didn't realize it till the second time, these characters are, like, so good that I wish we had something before this movie with them. Like, some kind of build-up to their characters. The fact, I know that they're literally there to try to get the stones. They're there to get the stones for Thanos, because he basically is just like, go, my mighty children, or whatever, like, go and get the stones. Because he's like, I'm not going to do it myself, you just go. Which speaks a lot about him. Like, I really don't feel like he cared that much when they were killed. Like, I just don't really care. I mean, I don't really think that he cared. But that's one of my thumbs down to this movie, is like we got literally nothing before this about them, and they're such cool characters, and they were just killed off kind of easily. Like, not really, but they just didn't seem like that big of a threat in the end. And I know that's been the Marvel thing, is like anybody but Thanos is basically just an okay villain. You know what I mean? Like, they're all, like, Thanos is the big one. No pun intended. But, anyway, let's move on. I wanted to talk about, like, the freaking action mixing with the comedy in this movie is just so well done. Like, one of my favorite scenes of this movie is them trying to get the stone from Doctor Strange. It's like right off the bat, you don't expect the movie to like just throw you right into action. That's why this movie's so good, is because it's full of surprises. Like, the trailers never gave us anything. The trailers never gave us like anything about, like, I think it was like 3 trailers they released. Everything that we got was like, it was like Thanos is just trying to get the stones. And that's all we knew. It was literally like all we knew about this movie. And the fact that they just like throw you right into the action, like, somebody on Collider Movie Talk made a really good point of like, you know what, like, Tony and Doctor Strange, they said something like, I never realized that until we watched the movie that Doctor Strange and Tony would butt heads. Like, I didn't think about it either. Like, I was like, yeah, whenever they meet, they're probably gonna butt heads. I didn't think about it at all. Like, it was just literally like so perfect that they would, because they're just a couple douchebags. It's literally like, it's perfect. And just the comedy is so on point. Like, you know, when he's like leaning on the vase or whatever, he's like, you really gonna lean on that or something? And he like cusses him out basically or something, and Tony's just got that, he has that blank face that makes me laugh every time. It's just like, I'm going to allow that. Like, because that's such a Tony thing. Like, that's the thing the Russo brothers were able to do with this movie, is like make every single character fit in, even though this is the Russo brothers. They haven't directed the Guardians, they didn't direct Doctor Strange, but somehow they made it where it's like they all make sense, and they're literally, these characters act like how they would in their solo films. Like, that's how it feels. Like, a lot of people like complain about Star-Lord and like all that, but I don't agree with any of the complaints people have said about like Star-Lord doesn't seem like how he does in Guardians. Like, to me, it all fits. Even after the second time, I really was like, this fits way more than I even remember watching it the first time. Like, it's just so good. The comedy, like, and they did this perfect weaving of like, it's not too much comedy. Like, the comedy hits right whenever it needs to, and you need that in Marvel. Like, this isn't DC. Like, it doesn't have to be dark and brooding, even though this is a dark movie. It's probably the darkest it has gotten, period. Like, it's the darkest it's gotten, but comedy just hits so perfectly, and it's just like, that's what's gonna happen when these characters meet. They're gonna butt heads. They're not gonna know who the heck each other are, because that's what I had to realize, is like, wow, Doctor Strange has not met Tony yet. Bruce, whenever Bruce shows up with Doctor Strange, Tony hasn't seen him since Age of Ultron, and that's something I had to realize as well. Like, okay, whenever Hulk got away on that ship, like, he's literally been on that planet in Ragnarok for 2 years, so therefore Tony hasn't. That's why he's like, you know, we haven't caught up, right? The Avengers broke up, and it just, all the comedy in that conversation was perfect. But anyway, the action is so well done. Like, I get absolute joy watching that beginning scene, and the fact that like Bruce, he can't get the Hulk to come out, so they've officially established that Bruce and the Hulk is like totally different. Kevin Feige said himself that they're just going to establish Hulk slash Bruce's story through these movies. Like, they're not gonna do a standalone movie again, which is fine, because we don't really need it. And yeah, a lot has happened to Bruce inside the movies. Like, every single movie has done something and like escalated his story more. And the fact that it's just like 2 different characters now, it's perfect. I mean, like I said, there is so much to go into that I'm just going to have to talk about whatever. Like I can't. There's not a particular order here, but I'm the only way that I can do it in some kind of order is just talk about it in movie order, like in order of the events of the film. Um, Spider-Man becomes an Avenger, and I thought that was really cool. Like, it took Spider-Man to like come in and like try to save Tony, for Tony to realize, I guess, like, it's like, yeah, you're an Avenger. Like, he does things on his shoulders, and just Peter's look is perfect because he's just like really, really proud of that. Because at first Tony's like, you've made a mistake by coming here because you're pretty much you're yeah. I have a nitpick during that scene. And yeah. What was it? Okay. So Tony and Peter, they get on that ship. He called it the donut ship, and that was perfect. They get on that ship, and this movie. Here's a big positive about the movie that is really, 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 really good. This movie was able to balance everything really, really well. Like, really, really well. Because what I knew was going to happen in this movie is, like, Captain America and Tony Stark are probably not... They probably meet at the end again because they haven't talked since Civil War because they literally had a fist fight. Like, it's literally, like, they have a reason to just not speak to each other. Especially with, like, Tony's parents. I actually kind of forgot about that, and then I got reminded, like, that's still why he hasn't talked to Cap, because he has a reason. It's like Winter Soldier killed his parents, and it's like, man, I still got that. I still have that. And so I love that little dynamic when he's like, I don't really want to call Cap, but we might need him right now. And where was I? Cap. What was I saying? Yeah, the movie does a perfect job of balancing everything, because it's the Empire Strikes Back. And even though it's the third Avengers movie, I still feel like it's the Empire Strikes Back in the way of, like, they go to their darkest point. Like, they deal with their darkest moments. And every character had to make some kind of sacrifice in this movie. It did a perfect job of, like, balancing everything, every scene. You know, an adventure in one place, another adventure happening in another with different characters. And some of those characters got to crisscross. You know, the Guardians met Stark and Spider-Man, and all that. It just did a really perfect job. But back to my nitpick. The only time that I feel like this was out of place, because it was, and Ryan might know what I'm talking about, and he might have noticed. Whenever Tony and Spidey get on the ship, and he gives Spidey the new suit and everything, great scene, love it, love the suit. The whole thing with Pepper Potts, he's like, he got to talk to Pepper Potts for a second, and then the phone broke up or whatever. There's this huge, because, like I said, adventure happening in one place, another adventure happening in another. They cut back to other characters having an adventure. And it took a really long time, because the whole point, Doctor Strange gets captured, he's on the ship, Tony and Spidey go to save him, Spidey secretly goes to save him and surprises Tony with that, and before Spidey gets to Tony, there's a whole lot, I'm not going to call it filler, because it was actually cutting back to something that we needed to see, like cutting between these characters. That's the only way Russo brothers were able to do this, because I think if they would have had all the characters in all of the movie at once, like at the same place, there would have been too much going on. There would have been too much. There would be a lot of problems of characters not getting enough screen time. That would have been the issue with that if they would have done that. So I'm glad that it was literally like, let's just balance a group of characters and another group of characters having an adventure side by side, just like Empire Strikes Back. Anyway, my point I'm trying to make with what I really don't like is that Tony and Spidey were on the ship. I've said that like 1,000 times. But they cut back to other characters. And I remember off the top of my head what it goes back to. I think it's Vision and Scarlet. I'm not sure. I have to like literally have the movie in front of me to know. But it took a really long time for them to not cut back to Tony and Spidey. Like, all Tony was trying to do was find Doctor Strange on that ship, right? And it was like, that's the beginning of the movie, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the movie, they find Doctor Strange. Being, like, tortured with the needles and everything by that guy. That was a great scene. I really like when they come back, and I like Spidey's little, his little, like, reference to Alien. The fact that, like, all they had to do was throw him out of the ship, so it wasn't that big of a threat whenever you have space, suction and sucking a person out of, like, a ship or whatever. And that's just, like, how he died. That was it. But it took a really long time for them to cut back. That's my only editing issue, really, with this movie. That's my only... And that says a lot. The editing and the way, like, the rest of the movie goes is, like, absolutely perfect. But that really bothered me, especially the second time. I was like, why did it take him so long to find Doctor Strange on the ship, whatever? It's a big ship, but it's not, like... It's not a freaking, like, Star Destroyer or something like that, where it, would take a while to go through. So all I can make an excuse for is, like, that little donut ship is like a maze, and he just couldn't, but it's Tony Stark, like, he has technology, he has his suit, like, he would be able to find him a lot quicker. So I think it was literally just, meanwhile, and, like, it was sort of like cutting back to a past time when they did find Doctor Strange. That's what it felt like more, but the movie's supposed to be kind of a meanwhile thing. An adventure's going on here, and then we'll eventually cut back to what the characters are doing right then at that time. That's how it should be, but it was just like, oh, we found Doctor Strange, by the way. It was just really weird. That was at the beginning of the movie, and then it cuts back to them saving Doctor Strange very later in the movie, and I was really thrown off by that. But I understand they had a lot to balance. They had to talk about Gamora finding Thanos, like, he's not really actually killing the Collector, because it turned out he was using one of the stones to make it look like that, the illusion, the illusion stuff. And like, I knew she wasn't actually killing him whenever she stabs him and all that. I knew that that's not what was going on. Like, Star-Lord made a good joke, like, oh, that was quick. Because for a second you're thinking, what if that is it? What if she actually just killed him? But I knew couldn't be. It's not possible. And yeah, thank you, Roberto. I'm just talking about Avengers Infinity War, so if you've seen the movie and you want to discuss anything about the film, I'm open to anything. Like, if anybody wants to jump in the chat and talk, maybe you want to ask me of, like, something a subject about the movie that you want to hear my opinion on, like, I'm totally open for it. But, like, and one of my favorite scenes of this movie was pretty much what happens next. Scarlet Witch and Vision. And here's another flaw. Where the heck did Scarlet Witch's, where did her accent go? Did they just forget that she was supposed to be, like, Russian or something? I'm pretty sure her and Quicksilver were supposed to be, like, Russian. And I feel like she was trying to speak in that accent, but then it came out as just like, I'm an American girl, which that's what they should have done. Like, her and Aaron Taylor Johnson just cannot pull off an accent, and they should have just been American twins. Like, it would have been much better. But that is a huge plot hole that does not tie into Age of Ultron at all. The way her accent just went away, and I didn't notice it at all. Like, until I realized, like, wow, her accent's gone. Like, it's totally gone. One of my favorite, back to positives, one of my favorite parts of this movie is Cap showing up in the shadows, and then that is such a Captain America and Black Widow and Falcon sort of thing, to be like hiding in the shadows and then they just attack. Like, and a lot of people are complaining of like, how did they find them so quickly and everything? It's like, you gotta remember, it's Captain America. Like, these people are soldiers. They're literally soldiers. They've been through a lot. They know what they're doing. They're very tactical and they know what they're doing. And on top of that, Bruce calls Captain America on Tony's phone. Little flip phone. That didn't make any sense why he has a flip phone, but that scene is just so well done. Like, and how quick they were able to take them down. Like, you know, they get away. Proxima Midnight and that other guy, they get away, but I just love that scene. Like, it is just such a, like, and the fact the actual Avengers theme plays over that. Like, the actual theme. So good. That, just love it. Like, and then we get the flashback scene, showing, and I love Thanos and Gamora, their relationship, like, and what he ended up having to do. Like, I felt that. Like, you know, he's a guy, he's a alien, whatever, he's a man of destiny. Like, he believes that what he is doing is right, and that's what made Thanos so amazing, is he feels like what he's doing is the right thing, and those are the best villains, is like whenever you can kind of sympathize, just a little bit. Like, in the end, we didn't sympathize with Thanos because he makes some really terrible choices, but what he ended up having to do, you know, with killing Gamora, getting the Soul Stone, Red Skull showing up, which was like just fantastic. Like, I knew it. I knew, like, maybe Infinity War or one of these, like one of the Avengers movies, he would probably come back, but I didn't think it would be in that cool of a way. It totally makes sense that that's where he went. They didn't show him die. A lot of people think that whenever he went up into space in the first Captain America, that was just him literally dying, evaporating, and I knew the whole time, like, it's clearly they're gonna bring him back, but I didn't know when. I didn't know how. And he's basically just like the gatekeeper of that planet. It was so good, so perfect. Anyway, back to Thanos and Gamora. Thanos feels like killing half of planets and stuff is the right thing to do. He wants balance, you know, and we still really don't get anything about. That was one thing I was kind of wanting out of the movies. We needed a little more. We needed a little bit, and I hope Part 2 gives us that. Whatever Avengers 4 is going to be titled, I hope they give us more of, like, why Thanos is the way he is. Like, why. Give us something from, like, when he was a kid, because the Red Skull name dropped his father. He's, like, a son of. It starts, like, with an A. And I hope we get something about maybe him and his dad, or something that's like, what happened to you? You know what I mean? Like, we see what Thanos did to Gamora, and the fact that she was just some little girl that's not actually his daughter, he just picked up because he felt kind of bad, I guess. He felt bad for, like, you know, it's like, I have to kill your planet, but I would like to save you. And that was a really beautiful moment to see that. The flashback was out of nowhere, by the way. It was just kind of implanted just right after Cap and them save Vision. It was really weird and out of nowhere, but it was still, I'm sure they had a lot of editing, like, decisions to make. Like, where do we put where? In that Blu-ray, I'm going to be getting immediately, because I cannot wait to see what was going to be in the movie and it isn't, because there's a lot of stuff in the trailers we didn't actually get in this movie. Yeah. It totally makes sense, because Black Panther made the money it made. So, like, this is basically like a sequel of Black Panther. But we're getting Wakanda in this movie. And it was awesome to see Wakanda again, and what's changed. Like, I think it's literally been 2 months, like, since the movie, it's been 2 months since the movie came out, and I think they were trying to go with, like, it's literally in the timeline, been 2 months in the story. So that was cool to see what has changed since then, since Killmonger died, a lot has changed because, they're trying to, like, um, bring the world together with Wakanda, and I think that's a really cool step. Um, what else was I gonna say? Totally makes sense that Vision would have to go to Wakanda because it's like they want to keep him safe. They want to keep him, like, because obviously Thanos can't get the Infinity Stones, or else we're screwed. But that battle was so much. That battle of Wakanda was so much cooler. Um, in the actual movie than it was in the trailer. Like, it really was. Like, what a lot of people have said is, like, their favorite shot in this movie, and this really is a highlight. Because I could go through the highlights of my favorite moments of this movie, but we all remember in Civil War, Captain America had trouble chasing Black Panther. Like, it was literally like that scene of, like, he's running and through the tunnel, and Black Panther's faster. He's literally faster than Cap. And one of my favorite moments is when the battle starts and Captain America and Black Panther take off together. And a lot of people have highlighted that specific scene, and it made me rethink the scene. Like, yeah, that is a really good moment because they were once, Black Panther, T'Challa, he was on a vengeful quest in Civil War, and now he's teamed up with Cap, and, it was just so freaking cool to see. Like, it was so cool to see them. They literally are, like, faster. They're, like, the fastest of the group of Wakanda. Like, they kind of stayed back, and they just took off running together, and that was such a beautiful moment. It was just such an epic moment with, like, what these heroes are capable of, and Earth's mightiest heroes. That's what Nick Fury was going for, and I think he's, he didn't recruit all of them, but the Avengers themselves have found themselves a good team. But yeah, I love that moment. And, like, going back to stuff happening side by side in this movie, and we get, Thor and Rocket teaming up together to get Stormbreaker. I really love that. Trying to think of what I'm trying to say here. Like, another great moment that is, this part is probably my favorite. This part is probably my favorite of the entire film. It is, we get Cap and Black Panther running, but this tops it. Like, we saw Thor in Ragnarok basically use his power, like, to what it's meant to, how it's meant to be used. Like, he doesn't have to use the hammer. He doesn't have to use his hammer. But he uses his hammer to channel his power. Like, that's his whole thing. It's like, if he doesn't use it, it'll just be this, like, explosive force. And it's cool to use that against your enemies, but he uses Stormbreaker to channel his power, well, his hammer, and now Stormbreaker. The way Stormbreaker is made, all that, is really cool. The fact that the dwarf guy was able to, he's the reason that Thanos has the gauntlet. He made him the gauntlet. And so, back to a negative. Age of Ultron post-credit scene officially doesn't make any sense. Makes no sense at all. Thanos comes in there, grabs the gauntlet. Fine, I'll do it myself. I get what they were trying to do there. It was teasing Infinity War in some way, but that makes literally no sense. Like, where was he? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, someone made a point of, like, what if that was like the fake one? But that still doesn't make sense because I think Thanos would know. That scene does not make sense, and that is now officially, to me, the worst post-credit scene that they've ever had. Is fine, I'll do it myself. Like it didn't make any sense because it was like they wrote the fact that this guy made him the Gauntlet later. So yeah, they've had a plan laid out, but I know that Marvel has written some stuff kind of in between, and they don't sometimes, but for how much they have to do, and 10 years of movies, they have to, like, they've done a great job at making it make sense. So there's gonna be little slip-ups, like 8 years later in Homecoming, the beginning, it says 8 years later after the invention of Avengers 1. That's wrong. It was like 5 or 6 years later, and they admitted, and the guy that directed Homecoming admitted to his mistake because it's wrong. It hasn't been 8 years since the end of Avengers 1. Not at all. So yeah, they have slip-ups here and there, but they're human. They're human beings, and they try their best to make all of it make sense. But anyway, one of my favorite moments of this movie, if not, okay, I take that back. This is my favorite moment. Besides, like, how epic the end was, this is my favorite moment. Thor coming into Wakanda was like, people have always said, Thor sucks. I don't like Thor, and I've always loved Thor since the first Avengers, since his movies. That's why I also love Superman, because it's just, I love the idea of at least one of the characters being from out of Earth and out of this world, and he is a god. Like, I love that. Like, I love that he's like the strongest. It's just like, it's so good. Like, his introduction, because they had a choice. They could have kept the scene in the trailer where you see Stormbreaker, he rises Stormbreaker up. There's like lightning and Groot's like doing that or whatever. They could have used that, or do what they did and just make him come into Wakanda out of nowhere. You see Stormbreaker spinning everywhere. I love it. I love it so much, and I love that Groot is like ready for battle too. He just runs in I love that. All the characters get their moment to shine, and to me that was Thor's moment. That was the moment Thor like shined right there. He comes into Wakanda and just wreaks havoc. He's the one that kind of saves them. He's the one that kind of saves their life right there. And I love that. Like, there's just so much. There's so much to this. So much. Oh man, what else gotta talk about? Because it's not easy at all to do this review. It's like there's just so much going on in this movie. I pretty much have talked about the highlights. We'll get to the end here in a minute, because like I know that I'm gonna have to start wrapping it up, because I'm trying to put this in like an hour, and I've still got a little bit, and that's fine. That's great. I've actually done really well. Because like I said, I wasn't gonna just do the whole movie step by step. I was just gonna kind of breeze through this movie, even though it deserves to be talked about. This movie deserves to be talked about. Every scene deserves to be discussed. That's just one of those things. There's so much to this. Everybody like comes out of this movie, like, we were at Books A Million yesterday, and the girl at the desk literally looked me in the eyes and asked me, "Have you seen Infinity War?" And I'm like, "Yeah, twice." She's like, "Oh man," like, she's like, "I cried, and like I can't even process it. There's so much." And I said, "Yeah, it kind of takes your breath away." And she's like, "Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. It's a movie that takes your breath away because you're not expecting the surprises." I did not expect Gamora to die. Like, I did not expect her. I kind of figured like maybe one of the Guardians will die, but I didn't think it was gonna be Gamora. My prediction was like maybe Drax will die or somebody like that, just because, and that would suck if he did. I'll tell you that, but it would really suck. But I kind of felt like maybe Drax would die just because, his family died basically by Thanos' fault, so it kind of made sense. He would probably run in there and try to kill him and then get killed, and then Star-Lord and everybody would have an emotional moment. They'd be angry, and they have even more reason to try to take him down in part 2. But it was even worse. Like, Gamora and Star-Lord now have a thing, and Thanos sacrifices Gamora to get the Soul Stone, and my prediction of that is that I believe that there's going to be a way to bring her back. Like, there might be. I don't know. Like, if she's dead, she's dead. And Marvel has a habit of bringing people back, but I think that's the one exception. I think that's the one death, because my personal prediction, that's what Volume 3 is probably going to be about. Guardians Volume 3 is probably going to be, because supposedly from the comics, it's like this thing with a Soul Stone, like you can go into the afterlife and bring somebody back. Like, I don't know all the facts. Like, I don't know. I've just heard things about, like, what the Soul Stone is supposed to be from the comics, and, like, there's a way to, like, go into it, and there's, like, characters that haven't been introduced yet in the movies that would be able to, like, open up the Soul Stone, and might be able to retrieve or save the person that's inside it, because it's not like she's actually physically inside it, but she died because of it. It's like, that's the reason Thanos got it, was literally making a sacrifice, and Red Skull was right. It could have been one of those things where it's like Red Skull wasn't telling the truth, but right whenever he killed Gamora, the Soul Stone just, like, plants itself in Thanos' hands. And so that's pretty intense. But if she doesn't come back, it's cool, but my heart got ripped out because I really like Gamora, and I literally love every single Guardian character. Like, I love them. Gamora is great, and yeah, I don't know. Like, it sucked to see her die, but that would be the one thing that I wouldn't mind. If they brought her back, I'd be kind of happy about it. But yeah, like, there is so much to this movie. Like, okay, so obviously we need to talk about the end, because the end is where everyone's heart died. And okay, I love that Thor basically comes out of nowhere and almost kills Thanos. Thanos is an alien, but he can bleed. We saw that he can bleed. He has flesh, and yeah, like, why didn't Thor go for the head? It's like, it's literally, Thanos trying to, rip the axe out of his chest. He's like, should have gone for the head. Like, that's such a great scene. So freaking good. And then we get the snap. And a lot of people are saying that these characters died. Spider-Man died. Doctor Strange died. Like, not in my opinion. I really feel like Thanos most likely made time do something different. He made it where time changed and these characters just no longer exist. A lot of people are saying, like, I just don't like calling it that they died. Like, yeah, they technically died. They floated away in ash. But I don't feel like, I mean, obviously they're coming back because some of these characters have movies coming out. Like, there's a Black Panther 2. They haven't announced Black Panther 2, but we know it's going to happen. Like, Homecoming 2 has been announced, so Spider-Man has a sequel coming out. A lot of people have speculated, like, what if Homecoming 2 takes place before Infinity War, so that it's an even bigger middle finger of, like, no, he's gone. Like, no, but I don't believe that. I think Spidey's coming back, but I just don't like saying that they died. Everyone keeps saying that, like, oh, I cried when these characters died. I'm just saying, like, I cried whenever these characters disappeared. Like, they just disappear. Like, they no longer exist in modern time right now. Like, he changed time in some way, and no matter what Captain Marvel has to do, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like literally have no idea. But that's the thing. Like you go into this movie getting your questions answered. That's what it did so well. And um, you go into this movie getting your questions answered, and then after this movie's over, you have more questions. Like there's so much more to like wonder now. Um, and we only have to wait a year. That still feels like a long time, but it's better than waiting an actual, sequel. Like having to wait for a sequel to be made. They already shot part 2, and it's already done. So it's great. Um, I just I don't know. I don't know what could happen now, but just so much great stuff in this movie. There's just like it's so well done. So like I said, there's like some minor nitpicks that I noticed, but no movie is perfect. There's some plot holes in this movie, not perfect, but it's so well done. The way they balanced everything, how many characters they had to balance, it was so worth the wait. Like 10 years is what we've been waiting, and the way that the fact that we were able to come out of this movie like shell shocked and some of us crying, like that is what makes a good movie. You felt something because you're attached to these characters. This is the ultimate universe of getting attached to characters. This is the universe that, like I said, 10 years built up. Like they've done movie after movie, and we are now like invested in these characters, and that's how you do movies in general. Like some people are able to do it in 2 hours. Like introduce a character, you fall in love with the character, and then something happens at the end of the character or whatever, and you get your heart ripped out, or they save the day and you still feel that too because you're glad. But they were able to do this so well. Like Infinity War, like I keep wanting to watch it. It's just one of those movies, like I can't stop thinking about it, and I keep wanting to see it. And like I said, I'll probably go back one more time to an IMAX, or I may just go watch it in 3D or something. Like I don't know. I just keep wanting to see it because it's so good. It's so well balanced. Russo brothers are just anything they do from now on, I'll be on board with. Like they are really, really, really good. Whatever they had to do to make decisions and agree on things, it was done right. Thanos is our best villain yet, and like the fact that and something I didn't even think about, like he makes the Earth, half of the Earth disappear. That is some biblical rapture stuff. Like that post-credit scene with Nick Fury, like experiencing like helicopters coming down and everything. It brings it so to like almost kind of a realistic feel, like because there's a lot of chaos going on in the world right now, and the way that ending felt was like there's chaos going in this universe, and you feel like it actually happened. Like I told Ryan coming out of the theater, like whenever you come out, you almost feel like half the universe, half the world's gonna be gone. But one thing I didn't think about is, no, Thanos didn't just do that to Earth. Half of the universe is gone. That's literally like the ultimate villain move to like kill. People are saying kill off half the universe. And technically, yeah, they die. But like I said, how I like to word it is that half the universe just no longer exists. And like it's just so, like I said, a review does not how am I trying to word this? Like a review is not enough. That's why I wasn't able to do a review in under 10 minutes, and I didn't want to make it any longer than that. So I just told myself, like, I have to go into a live stream for like an hour, and I'm not about to make an hour video either. I don't even think you can do that. But Infinity War is what I've been waiting on. I've been waiting, like, what's Thanos got up his sleeve? Because he's made little appearances. He was in the end of Avengers 1. And we got him, and a lot of people don't even remember that he was on his throne, and he talked a little bit in the first Guardians. And even back then, it was Josh Brolin, and I had no idea. That was really cool to find out that he's been Josh Brolin since post-credit scene Avengers 1. The Avengers universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is literally one of my favorite franchises now because I can actually say that I grew up with it. Like, I was like 13 or 14 whenever Iron Man 1 came out, and Iron Man 1 is still one of my absolute favorites. It's not even just nostalgia, it's actually just a really good movie. Infinity War obviously tops it, but it does it on a whole nother level. You have so many other characters, and you just want to see more. And whenever you watch this movie, you want to go back and watch their standalone movies because you're just like, man, I just want to go back to, like, them having their standalone, like, simply, like, Homecoming or something, Spidey saving New York and stuff, like, something that is not so dark, like, because this just took it on a whole new level of what can happen in one of these movies. Half the universe is gone, so what's going to happen? What is Tony and Cap, and, you know, Captain Marvel comes out next year, and it comes out before Infinity War Part 2. Avengers 4 is what I'll call it. It's like, what can happen now? Like, what can they do to make this conclude? Because obviously more movies are going to be after this. It's like, how are they going to save half the universe? How are they going to bring anybody back? Like, that's what the Russo brothers and Marvel Studios, everybody that's playing this out has done it so perfectly, where you're left with more questions than answers. And you're left with that sense of, like, I am so excited to see what happens next. Like, I'm going to be hanging on to every frame. Probably even more so of, you know, than this movie. Avengers 4, I'm going to be hanging on to every frame of that movie, like, because you've not only built a universe where we're invested in the characters and you made a really good kind of Empire Strikes Back sort of Infinity War, like Avengers 3. You made a really good, epic, dark movie that just ups the scale for the characters, puts them against their worst moments. And then you go and conclude that in a year. What could happen? And, like I said, Infinity War itself was worth the wait. And so now we have Avengers 4. Avengers 4. Like, I'm getting stumped on my words because there's so many thoughts running through my head about what I could say. But I'm trying to conclude the review with, like, just what I think about it as a whole. It's just so well done. It's unlike anything that we have seen yet. Literally, in movie history, there's not a universe that is this big with this many movies. They have made the ultimate film universe. And I'll admit, it makes me want, I mean, I'm on a journey. I am on a personal journey, and I haven't really gone out of my way to talk about any of this with anybody. But I'm on a personal journey to read all the best comics that there is, because comics is what started. Action Comics Superman is the reason that any of this exists, and it just hit its 1,000. And I kind of want to read it. It'd be kind of interesting to read 1,000th Action Comics Superman, but that's off subject. Comics, you know, there is so much to comics. There's so many stories and so many different versions of characters and so many whatever. So I'm personally on a personal journey to read all the best stuff. And I actually got a couple comics yesterday because it was free comic book day. I went to a couple stores like Books A Million and all these different stores, and Entertainment and all these stores. And got like a couple comics because, and they're by authors that I've heard about. I've heard about like these authors that are like, oh, these are the good ones. Like, these are the stories that you'll love. I want to read all the best stuff. And I want to read Infinity Gauntlet. That's what I was trying to get to. Is Infinity Gauntlet is the comic that this came from. So anybody out there that is just like, I'm into these movies, but I'm really not in the comics, to treat yourself. You know what I mean? Read the original source. Like, don't just go and read what it's about on, like, Wikipedia or whatever. Go actually get a physical copy, because, like, I don't know. I don't like the idea of digital copies whatsoever. Like I like to hold the comic in my hands. Infinity Gauntlet. Like I'm not trying to say like go and read this because I haven't read it yet and I don't know if it's any good. But that's the comic this is based off of. Obviously, it has like the X-Men in it, and it's literally nothing like the movie. But just go and read the original source of stuff that you love because it really gives support to the studios, the people that actually made the comic. Like the reason the movie exists is these comics. So go and actually read, especially if you're a book reader, if you're a person that's like a really big bookworm, you'll love comics because and I'm trying to get into them. That's my whole point of this is like I'm trying to get into comics. Because that's just what I believe. You should read the original source of where something came from because that's where all the heart is. That's where all the work. That's why it exists. What you're watching on a big screen, Infinity Gauntlet, and anything to do with Thanos that's happened in Marvel in the comics is the reason it exists. So I plan on reading Infinity Gauntlet. I actually, when I went to Entertain Mart yesterday for Free Comic Book Day, they didn't have any more Infinity Gauntlet, so somebody snatched it up. That was like my main goal to grab it. Because I'm open to any story that is good and read. Anyway, back to the review. Avengers Infinity War, like, I can't even, like... I can't even, like... Giving it a rating between 1 and 10, there's nothing... there's no way. I can't... I'm going to anyway, but it's going to be really hard. Like, it's going to be really hard to decide on a number because... it's definitely one of the best. And, like... and probably the better ones, like Ragnarok and... a lot of the movies that came out recently, like, are probably solid 9s out of 10. And so, I feel like it would almost be a disservice to not give Infinity War a solid 10. It is not a perfect movie, and there are a couple plot holes. There's a couple complaints. Like I said, Scarlet Witch, no accent all of a sudden. The story change with the gauntlet of how it becomes about. There's a couple editing issues in the movie, but overall it's just a great time at the movies. Like, you get a dark story, but you get this fun, and like it's so well done that I feel like if I gave it a 9, I would feel wrong by it. It's a solid 10. I can't give it any lower. I can't do it. So yeah, Avengers Infinity War gives it, like, I'll say it as like a low 10. Like a low 10, with like my complaints on it. But yeah, the original Avengers movie is really, really good as well. But this just tops it. There's just so much. There's so much more to this. And I love it. Marvel has done it. Marvel has made the ultimate universe that I will forever cherish. And I can say, like, this isn't like me bragging, but I'm really happy that cause like Star Wars and all that, the original trilogy, I didn't see in theaters. I've never seen Jurassic Park 1 in theaters. I've never seen a lot of my favorite movies in theaters, but I have seen every single Marvel Cinematic film since 2008, Iron Man 1. I've seen every single one at the movies. And I will keep seeing it, no matter how, if they start to suck, if after Tony and Cap are gone and they have like this new team of Avengers with Spider-Man, Black Panther, if it just starts to I'll still be there. That's my point I'm trying to make. I am going to support Marvel until the day I die now. Like, it's just like they've done so well, and I tip my hat. I cannot express how amazing this is. But that's pretty much it. Like I said, I would love to go into like every single thing that happens in this movie, but it would take like so long. It'd probably be like a 3-hour solid stream, and it's just not. But like I said, I couldn't contain this review in a small little video, so I just figured I'm gonna live stream. I'm gonna discuss Nobody really joined to talk about it, but it's okay because anybody that wants to see my thoughts on this movie, they can go back and watch this. So if you're watching this later, thank you so much for watching and being a part of this, supporting my movie reviews and everything because I'm trying to do more of them and I'm trying to like exercise, I guess, my movie criticism. Like I'm trying to like write thoughts down about movies and like really get into like you know like what makes a movie good, what makes it like just everything that it takes. And I've always kind of sucked at being able to describe things. That's like one of my biggest flaws just as a person is like describing something. It's like I have it up here and I know exactly what to say, and then when it comes out, I don't know what to say. And Infinity War took me for a loop. I didn't know what to say about this movie because it's so overwhelmingly good. It's so freaking good. Like, and I can't. It's everything I wanted all packed into one movie, and I can't. And it's not just for what I wanted. It's because of what they gave us, the surprises, everything. It's everything like that we wanted and more. That's the whole point of Infinity War. Like it's literally like everything that we could have imagined and what we didn't imagine. We didn't know what was going to happen in certain, in certain storylines. We didn't know where it was going to go. And where it went shocked the heck out of us. And by the way, side prediction for part 2. I could bet anybody right now. Iron Man, Tony Stark, will probably get a suit of armor in part 2, and this would just be so freaking epic because him and Thanos had a moment in the first one that is really shocking. He stabs Tony. He already knows him. That was even better. Like the fact that they know each other and that they're like basically now mortal enemies, like, and they've kind of been. And Thanos is the reason that Tony has issues in his head and all this stuff. They're pretty much, ultimate hero and nemesis now. Iron Man will most likely, just a side prediction, this isn't fact, I don't know that this is going to happen, but this is what I would like to see happen. Iron Man getting the dwarf to make him a suit of armor out of the same material that Stormbreaker is made out of. That might happen, and I think it could. That may be how, if that's how Tony goes out, whatever. But I feel like he is going to have a rematch with Thanos, and he'll need the best armor that there is, and the best armor would be like basically the same thing the Stormbreaker's made out of. That would be amazing. That is my personal prediction for part 2. That's just one of them. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know what else could happen. I just know that in some way they have to fix this. They have to bring everybody back that disappeared. So yeah, that was just a side thing that I forgot to mention. So I'm going to close it right there, guys. Thank you so much for watching if you joined the stream. And thank you so much to the people that are watching this later. I'm going to wrap it up because it's been over an hour. And I pretty much got everything out that I wanted to. There's probably a lot more that I've thought of to talk about that now that I just don't know because there's just so much. There's so much to this movie. But go see it, especially if you watched the whole freaking stream and got spoiled. Like now, yeah, you should have already watched the movie before watching this. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely leave me in the comments what you thought about Avengers: Infinity War. What did it do for you? Are you a Marvel fan? What's up with you? Let me know. And you'll be seeing me in the next review. I got a food review coming for you guys. I actually filmed it today, so that will be done for you guys very soon. So stay tuned, and you'll be seeing me later. Tribe out, and peace out.